Welcome to 13 Minutes of Gig News. In 13 minutes or less. Hey, you guys, so here we are on Saturday, a little later in the day, you can tell. So I've got some snowboarding obligations too in the winter and trying to up my search and rescue game, so some of that's going on. For the next Saturday, and the last Saturday of the year, the 30th, I will be dropping 13 minutes on Saturday. The time might fluctuate a little bit. And then in the new year, it will be dropping on Sunday at a specified time. I think I've got it, but I don't want to say it till it's locked. And it will be every week on Sunday. So let's jump in, though. We're going to pick up where we left off again last week because, unfortunately, I have this week, 2 more weeks before the end of the year. I got to talk about Uber Teen and the rideshare issues with Teen. We're going to do that next week. And I got to talk the year end. I got to talk about legislation in states that you should be aware of, give you kind of an overview, because in the new year in January, I have Mike Harubi, I have Kim Cavan, I have Karen Anderson. I have the whole lot of all the people involved in legislation, knowing what's going on, knowing the independent contractor fight, traditional and app-based, and what's going on. But for today, because there's a lot coming, I'm going to just kind of get into this one more time because you guys, we got to talk about New York City because it's now being used in other states. So the past few weeks, hopefully you guys have been watching them. If not, go back. Maybe I'll put like the last 13 minutes of gig news into this in order as 1, 2, 3. So you'd watch them 1, 2, 3. This would be the fourth one because it's kind of a continuing story. And the first week wasn't specifically about New York City. We took a shift to New York City when that happened. And then last week, we kind of mainly contained New York City, but talking a little bit of external. Now we're there. So what happened was, we're all aware, let me just put it in a nutshell. I don't want to keep beating a dead horse here, but we're all aware of what happened in New York City. 50 cents per active minute on delivery platforms. A lot of people are excited by this. The majority of people I know are not because they can see the forest through the trees. And we've been here before. New Yorkers especially have been here before. When the rideshare tried to do this, it didn't work. And the people who were out there hustling and making rideshare the best it could be in New York City kind of had to draw back. It was almost like a punishment to the rideshare drivers, even though it was supposed to look like an incentive when really the city was trying to punish Uber. But they're really, let's be honest, the city is punishing the rideshare drivers too when they do that because they're trying, and I get it. I mean, New York is its own animal. And I've had taxi drivers on this podcast before. And, you know, if you don't know, guys, about the taxi medallions, you can, if you Google it, you might see that LA or San Francisco has them too. But in New York, it's always been a different thing. New York taxi medallions were supposed to be something that if I had bought one back in the 50s, I could drive into Manhattan. I could drive anywhere I want, anytime I want. And oddly, if you look, the taxi medallions were the same price as a seat on the stock exchange. And at one point, a taxi medallion, because you could also hand it down to family, resell it. So like it was a family business. If you wanted to continue doing this and hand your business down, you could. But at one point, the taxi medallions at their highest value got to $1.4 million before Uber. Now, they started falling real quickly because the taxi industry started crashing, hence why Uber started. But none of that was helped. None of the rideshare drivers were helped. Basically, the state of New York and Uber worked out an acceptable deal. Like, we need money, the state of New York and the city of New York City, and we want to make it, you know, we want as much as we can, but we don't want to like piss you off, so we'll just take exactly what we can. All this was supposed to be done for the drivers, but none of it went to the drivers. And now here we are facing 50 cents per active minute. And to the few who are excited about it, I've been holding back my actual opinion. I've been telling you guys, if you like it, great. Beware, because February 2nd, it could all change immediately. And not only that, I truly believe that in January, we're going to see many lawsuits filed by the delivery companies because they've done everything to make that perfect storm we talked about last week. Now they can They can say, listen, and they already have. They've already added the $2 charge to the customer. They've upped the processing. They've upped the delivery fees. And because this was a perfect excuse to do it. If we're going to have to do this, might as well up the other fees too. They're now taking more from the restaurants. They're charging more on menu items, which already they inflate the prices of what you can get it for at the restaurant. So everything seems to be like, hey, we're collecting a lot of money for this. And they do have to pay the 50 cents per active minute. But here's my thing. In February, they are moving to a block system. And we've actually even seen that too. In the roundtable on Thursday, I posted a screenshot of what it even says. That second paragraph that they sent out to DoorDashers in New York says the amount of blocks you can schedule will be based on the prior week's blocks. And by that, I mean, like, we're all used to the fact that you can schedule in DoorDash, right? Okay, well, we've always been able to, like, if you can't just dash now, if you're not a top dasher or whatever, you can schedule. And if you don't show up for that schedule, no harm, no foul. I mean, hopefully if you know you're not, you delete it kind of thing. But if you didn't, no harm, no foul. Again, something they should kind of be doing because they're supposed to be following the independent contractor thing. But now it's going to be with max capacity after the new year. Right now, I think they're trying to kind of show off because they didn't even have to do the 50 cents a minute until the new year. So I think they're trying to show off, like, look how good we're paying our drivers. And they're making sure every news media picks that up. So the city of New York, the customers are going, oh, these companies are finally paying the drivers better. Good. Well, they've also taken the tips. They've removed them to the end. So now to tip is a very difficult thing, even though a lot of us could say it's not difficult. You just go back in and tip. But you can't until it's delivered. So when people start seeing the uppage of prices, we already know that people who have been using these platforms consistently on a weekly basis are tipping less. That is a fact. We have stats on this stuff. Order volume being down, we have stats on that. Tipping down, we have stats on that. I mean, this is getting a little bit ridiculous. And I think that as much as New York has gone so over the top in elected officials that are performing badly, decisions that the city's making. I mean, look at the state. I'm not even talking immigration this week like we talked about last week a little bit. I'm just talking about, look at the state of New York City. So even if you're a blue state or a red state and you're watching New York City, it's embarrassing, guys. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I got friends in New York, but it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing what they're doing. I mean, we could get into that political portion, but I'll save that for the new year when I got some of the guests I was mentioning earlier on. But what's happening now is DoorDash is actually kind of looking at these 16 to 18 states that are going to be pushing legislation next year. And they're wondering, should we just move this New York model right to there and get a jump on it? Because if they're paying you for the active time you work and they have a set price, again, it gets very tricky on, are these app platforms performing all the duties they need to and following the IRS standard laws of what independent contractors are owed, seeing all the details up front, no acceptance rate. You cannot have one. You cannot show one. You can't even have one to scare people as a scare tactic. It's not legal. Found another problem when I was doing some of these dashes I've been doing, which is that, and I texted Kim's Side Money Plans about this. I said, do you know this happens? And she's like, it's not a big deal because it doesn't really matter. I said, okay, well, it doesn't matter, but it matters to me because this, again, is another illegal thing they're doing. You can't, so I was surprised, and I guess it had been a minute, but I forgot. So like if I go pick up a DoorDash, and the other night I was doing another one of my 2-hour shifts. By the way, real quick, that video is coming out probably by Monday, maybe tomorrow. The one I'd been telling you guys, that'll be like my findings from the blocks I took and the times I did around here for DoorDash. But DoorDash is saying that, like, so I went to a pizza place that's here local, really good one, not a Domino's or not, it's more of a mom and pop one. And I know how crowded they are, but the pay was decent. So I was like, I'll take it. So I go there It says pick up or order will be ready I said I arrived at restaurant. I was there in like 2 minutes after. It said order will be ready at 7:47, and it was like 7:45. Went up to the guy. Place was packed. Very small kitchen. I said, yep, I'm here for this. He's like, it's about 3 back. Okay, well, the time that I was supposed to deliver it was, I didn't have the order in my hand till 22 minutes after that delivery time. And then once I had the order, I said, okay, I got it. I'm on the way to the customer. I did that as fast as you could. And I got a late, on your on time percentage and all that. I got a late deduction on that one. So I got to say, like as Kim said, it doesn't really matter. It does though, because guess what, guys? That is another metric they can't do. And this is an instance where, yes, we are independent contractors, but it's on the SaaS platform, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, whoever it is, to make sure that, look, if I'm standing in the restaurant, and we all know on DoorDash, for example, I've arrived. Now I'm waiting until I say I've got the order, the order's in my hands, I'm on the way to the customer, which I had not done that whole time. That's on DoorDash. DoorDash cannot penalize me for being late when that food is late and I'm not late. I was there in 2 minutes. I did it as fast as I could, and I took it the second the food came out, and I did not leave. They can check all that on the location. But that, again, why even have it? Just remove it. Like Kim said, if it doesn't matter, just remove it. Remove the acceptance rating too, because we know almost all those 16 states that are pushing legislation, if you removed the acceptance rate, you might be back to a playing field where there might be some deal to be made where they're not going to push as hard. They hate it. They're pissed. Everything about independent contractorship is being broken by these apps. And we've always questioned what the hybrid app-based model of independent contractor traditional is, but it needs to be defined. We're going to have laws and legislation before we have a definition. And it's just sad because these other states are looking at what New York's doing and thinking, and the gig apps are thinking, let's just do that ahead of the game, because we all know what they'll do. If they don't like it, after the new year, they'll just take it away and then see what legislation faces them. So next week, Uber Teen, the week after, we're going to talk about what's coming up in the new year. And then we'll be in the new year. And that's 13 minutes of gig news in just under 13 minutes. Peace!